was Zakharin from Team Katusha.
Well, the pace that's being put on by Kwiatkowski is going to cost Tom Dumoulin, I'm afraid. And here we are. Darwin Atapuma decides to liven up. He's been able to tuck in on occasion within the breakaway, but still showing that he's got some legs. But I'm afraid that everyone is going to get, looks like they're going to get wound in here. I beg your pardon, those who are intermittent. I don't think that anyone's going to catch Nieve, who's out front. There's Valverde. Job done for him today. The effort that he's put in, Sean, was a gift, as we said earlier, to both Quintana and Landa.
Yes, well, if they were trying to, I think, set up maybe Quintana, Landa, maybe they were trying to go for the stage victory as well. But Valverde, you know, it hasn't worked out for him, and this is going to cost him dearly because he's going to lose a lot of ground in general classification. But we did see when Valverde attacked Sky, there was no panic whatsoever. They actually just took it easy for a while. Then they got together again and started setting a pace. So they looked never that they were really concerned with Valverde going up the road. And now we can see Valverde is paying the price for that effort.
Nieve looks so strong as this day has taken so many prisoners. He looks fresh as a daisy, and this man is anything but, Sean. His name means bird song, but well, he ain't singing right now, I'm afraid. Or if there's a tune in his head, I imagine it's a dark one on this bright and beautiful day. 7 kilometres then we are from home, and this is a tale of hurt for so many. Team Sky, I think Kwiatkowski is surely just towards the end of his resources here, and indeed everyone who wants to stick it to Team Sky are finding just how difficult that is today. They're a minute and 39 down, 6.8 to go. Former teammate Nieve up the road. You can understand why he was so cherished within Team Sky, but allowed to make the move. And what a signing for Mitchelton Scott he's proven to be. And it could well be that he brings them another Grand Tour win.
Yes, it is possible, but still just under 7 kilometres to go for our leader on the road, Mikel Nieve. I'd be concerned what will happen, you know, back in the peloton of favourites, because if the likes of Quintana, Chris Froome, maybe if he puts in an attack, or some of the other guys there, well, this advantage will come down very quickly. And you know, they have been out there for a long time. I think anybody who's been in the breakaway, they're going to start suffering as you get closer to the end of this stage. So the advantage, it's no guarantee, but it's looking good for Nieve at the moment. But he still has to climb 6.5 kilometres of this climb, and in the final it does get very steep in sections.
Finding strength when all around you are losing theirs. There's the polka dot church I was telling you about at Le Châtelet, as we come through to take on yet a little bit more pain. The road does indeed flatten off, and in fact first man to get there in about 1400 metres time is of course Nieve, and it looks like he may well deliver this, Sean. He's got a margin. It's not a huge one, I might add. In fact, Caruso and Arada have pushed on according to our timings, and are now 24 seconds in arrears of the man out front, formerly of Team Sky. There, indeed, that spectacular chapel yet again, the L'Église Saint-Michel. As we cut back to maybe get a visual on the gap, and there are the pursuers, Sean. Can they catch their man? They've got time to do it. It's about how you manage to sprint the last ramps in.
Well, they've certainly got time to do it, but will they be able to do it? That is the question, because I think the riders out in front, Nieve here, you know, he's looking good at the moment, climbing away, looks to be having a good rhythm here, and Caruso, of course, and Gerardo, they are just behind here. Will they be able to pull something out of the bag in the final number of kilometres? It's all about, yes, now survival and how much you have left, how much energy you have left. And we can see Tom Dumoulin here, he's just time trialing away, and we can see here he is 34 seconds ahead of the peloton. So he's going to, you know, just try and keep this advantage and hopefully pull it out, but it's going to be also a difficult one for him to pull out anymore, because Sky, I think, yeah, they have a lot more manpower to use up here, and they will just up the pace from here on in. And I'm expecting an attack from some of the other favourites as well, but are they able to attack? Because this pace being set by Kwiatkowski, I think we've seen that riders going out the rear, that tells that everybody is pretty much on the limit.
Just so very, very strong. It's remarkable. I thought he was just about to pull to the side of the road, but no, he keeps going. Darwin Atapuma now being dropped off this group as well. A man who's come close on so many occasions, but not to be for him either, I'm afraid, today. 5.8 kilometres to go, and so the flatter section is just coming up. 28 seconds, and so Nieve has found another 3 seconds advantage on the two pursuers that are just tucked in. Harada and indeed Caruso are chasing in. Can't quite narrow that gap, and in fact it's extended to 30, so it looks like Nieve is going to have some fun. Tom Dumoulin, what a spectacular performance by him, finding 34 seconds today. If this is practice, Sean, it could make him perfect by the end of this race. That would be something.
Yes, well, it's going to be an interesting one for Tom Dumoulin. Will he be able to hold on to that 30 seconds, as we see Warren Barguil being just caught by the group of favourites and spat out the rear door immediately, and that is going to be, I think, a familiar sight. We'll see some more of the riders, I think, being caught before we get to the finish here of this stage today. But Tom Dumoulin is putting in a big effort. We can see Kwiatkowski is starting to suffer big time here, and it's going to be Bernal, the young Colombian rider, will take it up for Sky. And we know the way he can climb, his ability. He's just a super climber, and if he ups the pace a bit, well, then we'll see more problems. Will he be allowed to do that? Of course, you know, there will be guidance from the team director of Sky and telling them what to do, what the pace they have to set.
Chris Froome just on the radio momentarily. You may have caught that. That usually is a battle plan that's just about to be engaged. Let's see what happens. Yes, indeed. This is not good news. One lost, so Kwiatkowski's having to continue his push, and he's throwing a whitey at the moment. Meanwhile, throwing the dice up the mountain. Nieve, well, he went for it. He's got 32 seconds. It's just a narrowed margin. It was bounced out to 34, and I wonder if he's beginning to tire, Sean. Everyone will be by the end of today, but it was a brave push, but the counter-attack is starting to pick up, and I think possibly with the possibly because they're just about to be joined by Tom Dumoulin, who's closing down that duo. Can Mikkel Nieve make it? And here it is. Well, there you go. G decides to go for it. Chris Froome pulls over, doesn't want to guide Quintana. Quintana's going to be forced to work, but Geraint Thomas has now pushed on, and they're just drawing to a close. Mikkel Kwiatkowski, fabulous effort by him, and now G stretches his legs, and Bardet takes up to the chase. Chris Froome just getting onto the back wheel, and you can see that Dan Martin also tucked in there. Likewise, of course, Vincenzo Nibali, but this is a great chance for G to go into yellow. Many of you voted and said that would happen. There is the virtual classification as it stands. Tom Dumoulin at 58 seconds. If they were to finish like this, Chris Froome having a look and almost goading those around him. Go on, if you want to dig, then now's your chance, but it could be a hole that you fall into. Geraint Thomas is pushing on, Sean. Great moment.
Yes, well, it's a big moment by Geraint Thomas, because he's the better in the general classification, because the yellow jersey is a long way back the road, of course, and we can see there, you know, everybody looking at each other here. Nobody wants Bardet, is putting in an attack here, being followed by Chris Froome immediately,
and Quintana also getting into the frame here. Quintana, it's not Landa. In fact, he looks like he's backed out of this one, hasn't got anything to invest. Nibali just gets on the back of them as well. Bardet has been so well protected, Sean, by Pierre Latour, and Chris Froome goes on the counter as well, and he leaves everyone in his wake, does he? No, plumps back down into the saddle, which is where he gets the main drive from, and just look how badly scarred those elbows are as he holds them out almost as bait to these guys, and Quintana sits in, and Nibali able to follow, is he? Not quite sure. Bardet is, after being hidden and indeed worked for much of the day, and he goes for the shorter route through as Chris Froome just pulls over and says, go on then, I'm not going to start closing out Geraint Thomas, who's shot up the road. There's Tom Dumoulin, who's now with Caruso here, and indeed Harada, but at what gap? 38 seconds is the answer to Chris Froome's former teammate, and here just spearing through, there it is. Geraint Thomas is getting himself up and bridging over into position. Well, this is off the back of all that work that his team made as we come to the pink section of the road, which will announce us back home, and here comes Bardet as he steps out of the saddle. Chris Froome doesn't respond, not this time. Quintana has a look at him him and wonders whether to join Bardet in the chase up the mountain. Chris Froome changes the pace again. Just gently to suit himself, you understand, and drifts to the side of the road. What spectacular racing we've got, Sean, and what a push by Geraint Thomas here as Bardet tries to light up, but it looks like he's going to be tagged by these guys.
Yes, well, we can see here Chris Froome is just putting in that just unbelievable acceleration here. We can see Quintana has having to make the effort just to sprint to stay in the wheel, and we could see Warren Barguil there at the other side of the road. He was making a big effort, but Chris Froome just goes flying past him at the other side. We can see Dan Martin here in difficulty, Nibali in difficulty, so we have Froome here, Quintana of course, and the team NL Jumbo rider Primož Roglic, he's riding very well, and he's hanging in there with, of course, Warren Barguil from Bardet. I'm mixing the two Frenchmen all the time, Barguil.
Indeed, Nieve though coming home, 35 seconds of an advantage with 4 kilometres to go. This is far from over, and Tom Dumoulin's gone into uphill time trial mode here. There are the distances there, very, very narrow gaps. Froome is 511 metres down, but it's extending at the moment. Dan Martin picks up. Well, it looked like he was suffering, but right now it was for his craft, and away he goes. And Chris Froome believes that this is a good wheel to follow, and Quintana can't do it. Neither can Bardet, neither can Nibali, neither can Roglic. Amazing moment this, with 3.7 kilometres to go, and Dan Martin here is offering up an assist, it seems, to Chris Froome. It's not deliberately. Of course, Dan Martin will be doing this himself. Chris Froome's not going to chase down and guide anyone else up of the main contenders who now sit in his wake, and Quintana's looking around trying to beg one of the other guys to do a little bit of work. He does not want to pursue Chris Froome, Sean.
Well, I don't think anybody is really able at the moment. Everybody is on the limit, and we could see Dan Martin, he lost a little bit of ground there, comes back and immediately puts in a big attack, and Froome reacts immediately in his wheel here. We can see Quintana is just moving the elbow, as we can see again Romain Bardet just putting in this attack out of the group. They need to get organised. They're just, you know, attacking each other. You would expect those riders just to ride a bit on the front, but no, they just look at each other, then one attack, then that one pulls over, another one goes in the attack, and Quintana is the one who is starting to panic at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Dan Martin doing what he does best. Chris Froome on the blower, as you can see yet again, just calling for a situation update, I believe. Meanwhile, there is Froome Martin, 53 seconds down, and this is time gained overall that's been lost in this race on occasion, not least, of course, that phenomenal stage, that run that bounced so many into Roubaix. Meanwhile, still bouncing up the mountain, but will he bomb? I'm not quite sure, because the pursuers that are only 29 seconds in arrears of Nieve at the moment. And who are their names? Geraint Thomas, Tom Dumoulin and Damiano Caruso. Will he be singing tonight? Not quite sure. 3 kilometres to go, far from over.
Far from over. I think we can see the leaders on the road are 3 kilometres to go, and we can see here Quintana's pushing on. I think he's getting orders. You know, you have to try and, you know, push on. You cannot allow Chris Froome to ride away with Dan Martin, and he's trying to close it down. But we can see here the wind. You know, you turn, it's a headwind. This is making it really difficult. It's just a grind for some of the riders to get to the top of this climb.
Out in the break for much of the day, Damiano Caruso, and there he is. He was on that mega break of 30 earlier on today for BMC. He sits in behind Geraint Thomas, and that gap's now closing down as Chris Froome starts to kick on. This is not attacking Thomas for Froome. It's about putting space between himself and indeed the pursuers, which include Bardet, includes Quintana, it includes Nibali, it includes Roglic, and this is a bid by Team Sky to put 2 men right back up there in the forefront of all the thoughts of their opponents, Sean, and they're doing a great job of it.
Yes, well, we could see Dan Martin, he was really pushing on with Chris Froome in the wheel, but Chris Froome was radioing back to the Director Sportif. I reckon he was just asking, what do I do here? Do I ride with Dan Martin? I just sit on and wait. Looks like he's got the green light to go ahead and just ride with Dan Martin, and now we can see, you know, they're pulling away here, and the men who are panicking, we can see Nibali there. Those are the ones who are going to lose out, because when they get up to front, they have 2 riders in front of Team Sky, and they will definitely try and push on here. And Tom Dumoulin, we can see he also wants to push on, because he have interest to take time out of some of the men we have on the screen here at the moment further down the climb.
Yes, indeed. Tom Dumoulin has a great interest in it, but it's 31 seconds, and Nieve has just pulled out a little bit more of a gap. I beg your pardon, it's bouncing around 26. It's live on your screen right now. Our transponder's just a little bit in arrears, but it's the 2 kilometres to go marker. It does start to flatten out. It does not, it hovers around 4.8%, 5%, but at the end of what's been a couple of days of climbing, Sean, that have been extraordinarily punishing, this is going to feel like a ramp to hell almost. And in fact, 23 seconds, they're closing in on him.
Yes, well, they are closing in, and it's going to be a big test for Mikel Nieve, for Michelin Scott to hold on. 2 kilometres. It's pretty windy up here on top, but you know, when you look at the advantage, you would say 22, 24 seconds. It should be enough, but how much have they got left here? I think everybody is pretty much given their maximum, so it's just a matter of getting to the line here. So it should be enough for Nieve to take stage victory.
Wow, let's wait and see. 19 seconds I'm hearing, with 1,800 metres to go. 1,700 now for Nieve. 277 metres down the road is Chris Froome. There are your gaps. The pursuers are only 157 metres in arrears. Great chart that for you, and you can see the ebb and flow of the battle to the line. And Nieve's finding something extra because he knows that victory is within his grasp. Absolutely superb. And indeed, there he goes around the corner. He'll be within sight of us here at the finish fairly shortly. He drifts to the middle of the road to give himself more options, and indeed drift away from those with parasols that have been furled here in the late afternoon. 1,500 metres for another famous win for a man who was embedded very much within Team Sky, but has now got his head within Mitchelton Scott, and he used it brilliantly, Sean. He's going to bring this one home, I believe, and it'll be minor places for these guys, which is Tom Dumoulin, Geraint Thomas, and indeed Caruso has been in the break for much of the day. 22 seconds, it's gone back out from 19, but look at Froome and Martin as well, not far behind these guys, and significantly with 40 seconds of advantage on the group of Bardet, and indeed Landa even further down the mountain.
Yes, well, we can see Landa there with Bernal from Team Sky, and it's all happening here. There's riders, you know, everywhere scattered on this mountain. We can see, you know, Chris Froome, Dan Martin are working well out front. They might get back into that group of Tom Dumoulin before they get to the finish, because they seem to be working well together, but for Nieve, it looks like he just have enough in hand to hold on.
The power of the Flamme Rouge sometimes can just spur you on. It allows him enough time to look behind. He's being guided here towards the finish line. Oh, those hoardings must be welcome sight indeed. They've mixed them with pink, almost in tribute to Italy, which is at the back door of the finish line here today. These guys have done a terrific job, and chapeau as well to Team Sky for working so hard. Chris Froome kicks on as well. Leaves Dan Martin in his wake. Tom Dumoulin has done a spectacular job. The man who locks horns with Chris Froome. Don't go the wrong way, Chris. Keep it to the left. And he does so. Just closing down on Geraint Thomas, who will take the lead in this Tour de France when he crosses the line. Nieve just about to finish. He's 700 metres or so down. And Chris Froome coming in. And I'm afraid the welcomes go a little bit hushed up here. The emotions swinging one way and then the next in regard to the appearance of Chris Froome. But Geraint Thomas kicks on here. Absolutely superb. He goes for it as well. He wants as big a margin as he can push if he's got anything left. This is not him racing Chris Froome. This is him racing to make sure that he's put some time in the bank. It's about investing in the rest of the race, and he's doing a fantastic job of it.
Well, what a ride by the riders from Team Sky. We have them just dominating here. Geraint Thomas putting in the attack, and then just leaving Tom Dumoulin do quite a lot of the riding, because he had Chris Froome coming across, of course. Now he's got all the things just to push on the final. Then Chris Froome there just rides away from Don Martin, and we can see he joins up with Tom Dumoulin out front.
Yes, he does. Oh, sailing round! It's a huge blow-up for Nieve, and Geraint Thomas is going to take a stage win here. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, poor Nieve just explodes almost towards the line, and G is going to come home, and gee whiz, that is a fantastic result for him. Not only is he going to go into yellow, he is going to take the stage win, and I've got to tell you, the cheers here are mixed, to say the least, but nonetheless, this is a fantastic performance, and take nothing away from Team Sky. It's been a clinical execution, it seems, of just about all the ambitions of everyone around them. Kapow! He's got it, and who's going to finish second? Well, there is Nieve, former teammate who just pacing in at the moment. His heart, I'm afraid, is blown, and it could be Chris Froome that makes it a Sky 1-2 here. Talk about writing a marker on top of a mountain and screaming at everybody else, and Tom Dumoulin's having none of it. He just nicks second place at the line. Chris Froome third. Caruso comes home in front of Nieve. Dan Martin here now. Oh, they're not all cheers, Sean. They're not all cheers at all. But the plaudits have got to go to Team Sky today.
Yes, well, of course, we can see there what a ride by the Team Sky riders, and you can see Geraint Thomas looked like Nieve. We see, the shot out front. He had a very good advantage. You could see him; he was out of sight as we went through that roundabout section, looking like that he wasn't going to be caught at all. But what a performance by Geraint Thomas! He finished there at such a rate, and Chris Froome getting back up to Tom Dumoulin, finishing at 19 seconds, and Dan Martin at 28, and the rest come in here. We can see 101 for Quintana and the rest.
Yes, indeed. Nibali also locked within that group, as you saw. And this is Landa coming in, and what's it going to be for him? Minute and a half by the time he reaches the line. There's a big price to be paid on days such as this. A shark's tooth profile, and I'm afraid it's wounded plenty. Let's see what happens in Alpe d'Huez. There's a lot to take account of today, Sean, not least what you have to do to beat Team Sky, and I'm afraid Movistar are going to have a different battle plan tomorrow for Alpe d'Huez. How on earth will they outwit them?
That is the question. It's going to be a difficult one. When you look at the day, Team Sky were just so in control, as we can see Landa coming over there, 150 or in or about. Sakharin coming in here, 156. Team Sky totally dominant in the stage today. They had everything under control, and more so on the final mountain with Geraint Thomas here, putting in that attack. Then Chris Froome just following the attack of Dan Martin and riding away from him in the end. It's going to be difficult for the challengers here, notably the team of Movistar. What can you do? I think they